Hello everyone, Josh Caswell here. I'm the digital media expert from the Monroe County Public Library. Today I'm going to be talking about a program that's free called Twine. And what it is an open source tool for telling interactive, nonlinear stories. So if you've ever done something like a choose your own adventure or played a visual novel, you should be familiar with this. You can also create something like an HTML game because this has access to CSS, JavaScript, all the basic tools pretty much to create what you want. The only caveat there is that it's really best suited for creating like sequential or multi-path narratives. So you can get the program at twinery.org. In my address bar here, you can see the URL. We'll also link that on the video. You can download it for any system that you would like, and you can even use it online. So a few important things here before we get started. It does have its own discussion boards, so you can get advice or look for solutions to common problems there. It has a Discord server where you can kind of engage with a community, troubleshoot some things. A cookbook, which is just little code snippets and things like that that you could use in your program, and a wiki, which also is a very good knowledge base for questions that you may have. Looking down below, there are actually quite a few different things that exemplify what you can do with the program, so you might take a look at those. But for now, let's go ahead and click Use It Online. So you can see the online interface here, and just to show you that the program that you install is really the same thing, I'm going to go ahead and open it. And you can see that they really are essentially the same programs. Basically, the only difference is that in the downloaded program, you can link in things like images, video, or audio from your local machine, whereas the web version only really allows you to link in web content. So to get started here, we can click on Story, but first let's look at these other options down below. We have Import from File, Archive and Formats. Formats you probably just want to leave on the default setting. If you click on it, you can change different things, but getting started is probably ideal to leave it on default. Archive basically saves your stories. So if we had a story, let's go ahead and hit start a story, and let's just call it story 1 and create that. It'll automatically take us into there, but if we go back, we can see that there's story 1, and let's make another story and just call it 2. And that's automatically going to take us in there too, but now we have 2 different stories here, and if we archive that, it would save the file. As you may be able to see down here, it went ahead and saved it. So let's just delete these, and delete this one here. And if we went to import from file, choose the file. I think it's probably this top one here. Oh no, that's a little bit earlier, so that's another one I was going to show you for an example. So let's go ahead and hit open, and you can see story 1 and then 2 here. So you can save progress like that, which is very handy. You can also click these little cogs and do different things like publish to the file. It's going to create something very similar to the archive. However, if you publish to file, it basically creates a standalone app where if you have already finished your game, you can just send it to whoever you want or use it yourself outside of this program. So speaking of which, let's go into one of these files and see what our options are. So you start out with this blank workspace here, and it's kind of small. Hope you all can see that, but it says untitled passage, and double click this passage to edit it. So you can double click it to get in there. You can also hover over it and hit this little edit icon. There's a play icon as well that just kind of previews what you're working on, and a 3-dot option that kind of just changes how it looks. It also gives you an option of if this is your starting point, this is where you want to begin. So let's double click on that, and you can see here it says untitled passage, so we're going to call this test just to see how that reflects to the program in general. So let's close this. And you can see now in this top bar, it's called this item test. So let's go back to edit it. And you can see this text right here that starts highlighted. It says double click this passage to edit it. You can really just hit delete. You can also drag and select it, if I can get that done. And that removes it as well. So it pulls up these things which are basic formatting options that you should know about. But you can really reference this in the wiki, in the various community resources I told you about earlier, or since you have access to CSS and HTML, it's not just limited to this. You can use something like W3 Schools, which I'll provide the link for, that tells you about how to do basic HTML things like making things bold, linking to different items, and with that you also have access to Markdown, which is kind of just a simplified language markup coding solution, which just creates shortcuts for various things. I'll also link that as well. But let's go in here and go back to edit test. Once you start typing, let's do test 2 here, you can see that really you can create whatever you want. I'm going to make this test 3. I know this isn't very interesting, but it's just to kind of show you what's going on. And with that, there's no special formatting, there's nothing like that. Let me close this, and then let's play it to see what it looks like. So as you can see, I have all my different text in here that I typed, and it basically just appears as I typed it. There's no knowledge of coding needed, nothing like that. It's just something to kind of expand what you have. So for instance, I could do something like, if I can type correctly, I can do something like use an HTML tag to bold text 2 here. And let's just open up this, close it, and you just close to save. So now, whenever we hit play, it might be a little hard to tell here, but you can see test 2 looks a little bit larger than the others, and that's because I used bold. I can actually probably exemplify this a little bit better by using the H1 tag. So let's use that real quick. And this is an HTML code here that I'm using. Basically, H1 is just very large title text. So let's close that, and then let's preview it now. As you can see, test 2 is very large now. So really, you can use the different coding techniques to make your text look like whatever you want. So let me go back here, and I'm just going to show you, I'm going to import a file which has a lot of things done in it to show you different options in there in this program. So I'm going to say import from file, choose my file, and this time I think it's the top one. It's the one I did way earlier. And now you can see a couple things popped up here. We have this test thing that I was working on and this orange cat file. So you can kind of tell about the different complexity or options that you have in your story. So test is one node and it reflects here, but the orange cat is has a lot of different nodes. So let's open that up. And from here you can kind of see those same boxes that we were working with. I have lots of different titles, and I also have these little arrows that are going somewhere. So let's take a look at what the starting element for my story is here. As you can see, I have a title. I made a tag which doesn't really reflect anywhere. It just helps for categorizing what you're working with. So if you want something to fall in the same category, you can do quick lookups or something like that have the same tags. And I just kind of use that here, but it's not necessary. Looking at this, you can see the same normal text like I was doing before, but then you see these things here, which are bracketed text. And let me show you what that looks like. So what the brackets do, and I believe it's a markdown function, is they create a link. So let's go ahead and click play. Now you can see that the top text thing in the brackets was go back to bed, and the bottom was look around for something to do. So let's go back into here, and again, go back to bed, look for something to do. And if you look at the two items it connects to, it's the very same titled items here. So let's test something. Say there was like a third option that you wanted to do, and we called it purr. So our story is about a cat. So one of the options for this cat is to purr. So I've created the link here. I'm going to close it. Now what this program has automatically done is made an element that it goes to called purr. So if I push play to test my story, I can see that link presented here as a possibility. So I can click on purr, and I really didn't have anything in there. So because I didn't add it text, it just has this default text in there. And this is a good point to point out that if you want to go back, there's a little back arrow here, so I can go back and then look at different options. So that all works how you would expect it to. But what if you were creating an element, say for instance, I knew that in my story that my cat was going to get abducted by aliens. And this was created before any of this stuff was made. I just thought it would be a funny little thing to happen to the cat. So I made the element. So let's do something else again. So let's make something that says, let's say maybe this is, he's going to purr in another situation. So let's call this purr 2. And then the text is just going to be he purred. All right, so I made that. So now we have this element kind of off on its own. Now let's see what happens whenever I make another link here, and I called it purr. And you can actually see here that it creates an autocomplete function here for you as well. So I'm going to call it purr2, and then hit return to automatically insert that, and then close this. And you can see that it's made this connecting arrow to purr2. So now whenever I test out my function here, I can look at it, and I see this option that says purr2. And you can see the text, he purred. Pretty exciting story, I know, but using these, you can really make a story going in any direction you want. You can stylize it with HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. And as I alluded to before, you can even do things like insert images. So if I look at this on the web app, I have this image that I wanted to show people. And if I play it, you can see the image. I used an orange cat because our story was about an orange cat. So you can see the picture here. And looking at the source code, I can see that there's an image link, which if you're familiar with HTML, it's just basically using HTML code to insert the image. And I had to use an online hosted image because it can't read from my local file system. If you use the actual app, it can. It can pull pictures, video, or audio from your home machine. And it can also pull web links if you have internet access. But if you use the web app, you only have access to online media. So that's something important to keep in mind. So with that, you really have all the knowledge you need to make this exact story. I can provide a link if we want for this story if it's requested. But I guess we'll just see how things go. I'd really like people to test it out on their own and explore things just to see, what they come up with. So again, the things that you would need to know possibly to make this work, maybe Markdown if you're looking for simple coding solutions, HTML, CSS, JavaScript if you really want to get complex. There's also the wiki and things like that. But really all you need to know how to do is type and then make those links. And once you have those links in there, you can really make any basic story that you want. All right then, so get creative out there and make those stories. And if you create something that you're really proud of, share it with us.